Hey everyone, my name is Shrew. Today I'm going to be taking you through my May TBR. In one of my previous videos, which I will link up in the cards, I went through all of the books that I've read so far within the first 3 months of 2021 and realized I haven't read a single classic. I love classics, so why am I not reading them? And that's not to say I've actually had a pretty good start off to the year. I've had some pretty great ratings, so many books that were fantastic. Feeling a little bit stumpy, and I think part of that is because I'm not reading books that I know that I really like. I really like to analyze books. There's just something comforting about the reflective process of reading these types of books. So this month will be a little bit more classic heavy. So the first book I would like to read is Taming of the Shrew by William Shakespeare. Now, this play holds a special place in my heart. I read it in high school. I actually was a terrible English student. It wasn't that I was bad at it, I just didn't want to do anything. And I remember reading this in 10th grade and I loved it. I loved the characters. I, oddly enough, felt very connected to Catherine in here, which I don't know what that says about me, but I'm excited to dive into this. I actually have a really cool story that goes along with Taming of the Shrew. I have like 5 different copies of this book, but I'm gonna do that in a different video because of reasons that I can't say here. But yeah, so Taming of the Shrew follows 2 sisters, Catherine and Bianca, who are quite the opposite from each other. Catherine is the shrew. She is like, she wants to be repulsed. She chooses to be repulsive. Like, she does not want to get married. There's a ton. Her character is actually really interesting. And then there's Bianca, who has been pursued by many suitors. And Dad basically says, no one can marry Bianca until Catherine gets married. And then that is where our story begins. I loved it when I read it in high school. I'm going to read it again. I think I've read it one other time, but I'm so excited to read this one. The next book is also another Shakespeare, and that is Macbeth. In case you didn't know, Macbeth is the shortest Shakespeare play by word count. I love Macbeth. This is another one of my favorites. And again, I'm reading this for sort of like another secret TBR, so I can tell you this one. But in Macbeth, we follow Macbeth, who sort of gets like a promotion. It's not really a promotion in old times, but he basically gets a new title from the king, and he sort of, it goes to his head a little bit. And then his wife, Lady Macbeth, again, another one of my all-time favorite characters. Apparently I just really like those like bad girls. That's okay. But Lady Macbeth tries to convince him to possibly gain more power, and it sort of follows their story. And I'm excited again to reread it. I know the story well, and I can't wait. Following book I'm not as excited about, and you're probably like,
Drew, why are you reading a book that you don't like, or one that you're not excited for?
well, it's Romeo and Juliet. I've mentioned my disdain for this play before. However, I am teaching it in probably like end of May, June, so I do need to reread it. I mean, it's funny if you think of it as a satire, but in this we follow our title characters and their supposed love story. But yeah, basically Romeo falls in love with Juliet, Juliet falls in love with Romeo. Their love is forbidden because their families are constantly fighting in a lifelong feud that goes back to who knows when. But yeah, so Romeo and Juliet. Yay. Moving on from Shakespeare. The next book I'm reading will be a buddy read with Steph's Bookish World, who I will link down below. For me, this is a reread, but we got talking a little bit and decided that we wanted to read The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Vo. This is one of my favorite books of last year. I am so excited to read and talk about it with Steph. I just can't wait. But in case you are not aware, The Empress of Salt and Fortune follows the character Chi and their companion as they collect stories throughout this land, and they come across a maiden of the Empress. As we read, Rabbit, who is that maiden, sort of unfolds the story of the Empress. And oh, it's just so good. I can't wait to read it again. And of course, I cannot wait to buddy read it too. What's kind of nice about this month is that for graduate school, I don't have any like assigned reading. Like I have a final project that will take up the month, but I don't have any nonfiction. And I will say the nonfiction for my grad classes is pretty dense. It's interesting. Well, if you're an English language arts teacher nerd, but details. But it's really dense. And I want to dive into some more nonfiction that I choose. So the first book I will be reading is Myth, A Very Short Introduction by Robert A. Siegel. I hauled this pretty recently. I love reading myths, and I want to dive into this because I think it talks about, like, even though I might know the foundation of mythology, I want to know a little bit more. In this, it is sort of broken up into different sections. So like each chapter, like we have myth and science, then myth and philosophy, myth and religion, myth and ritual, myth and literature, myth and psychology, myth and structure, myth and society. I am curious to think about all of those because I definitely have not explored myth in some of the contexts that are in this book. So I can't wait to read this, and I can't wait to find further reading to go along with this. The next book is Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking by Susan Cain. Now, if you have not seen Susan Cain's TED Talk, I'm going to link it down below. I thought it was fabulous. This book was actually gifted to me by my sister, like when I was in high school? I was either in high school or college. She was very young, and she remembered me mentioning this. We were in Barnes & Noble and I sort of pointed it out, like, oh, like I remember seeing her TED Talk. So she ended up getting this for me for Christmas many moons ago, and I got about 50 pages into it because I can see that I annotated it a little bit and it doesn't go past like 50 pages, but I'm finally gonna dive into the whole thing. I'm that person. I'm such an introvert. When I was in college, we had to take a Myers-Briggs test, and I got I think it was 99% introverted, and I remember all my classmates looked at me and were like, oh, how are you gonna teach? And then again, when the pandemic hit, there was this meme going around, and I'll post it here, which made me realize even more so how much of an introvert I am. I want to read this because oftentimes introverts are sort of thrust into this extroverted world, and I'm curious to see the psychology side of it. The next book is World of Wonders by Amy Nezuko-Matato, In Praise of Fireflies, Whale Sharks, and Other Astonishments. This is a collection of essays, and I've read Nezuko-Matato's work before, but her poetry. So I'm intrigued to see her essay writing as well. I also just there's so many pretty illustrations in here. I know this is the cover page, but I think that is gorgeous. I just want to dive into this immediately. A few other books that I have to read. I will be reading Persuasion by Jane Austen for Down Memory Jane. I kind of had the embarrassing moment where I'm like, oh, I have all Jane Austen books, and I realized that I do not have Persuasion. I've never read it. I don't own it apparently, so I need to haul that. Next, I have the next book in the Throne of Glass series, which I am kind of behind on that for a tag-along. I still need to read Era of Fire, which was on last month's TBR. I'm filming this a week before the end of April, so I don't know if I'll be able to get to the next book, so I'm just gonna keep Era of Fire on here for now. And then lastly, I will be reading for the Buzzwordathon A Novelle Episode 1, The Curse of Two Houses. So the buzzword this month is house or home. And this is by Adam Woodike, or Woodike. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. It's an 80-page fantasy novella. I, a couple days ago, I got approved to read it on NetGalley, but it's also already out on Kindle, so it has been out as an ebook for a while now, so I don't know what's up with that, but I figured I'd try it. Why not? Again, it's only 80 pages. So I guess in this book we follow two different houses. Duh. Basically, it seems like a semi-political fantasy. I don't really want to go more into the synopsis as it is only 80 pages. but I will definitely leave my thoughts on Goodreads as well as in my wrap-up. So that's all for my set TBR for the remainder of the month. I will also have 2 book club picks for my graduate school book club, which we don't pick until like the time of the meeting, so won't be mentioning those. And I'm hoping to like mood read a little bit too. I do have some secret TBRs of my sleeve, so I can't wait for that. And also I forgot to mention, the last week of May is the Do the Thing-a-thon, which is hosted by Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction. I can't wait for this. It's sort of like a pick your own kind of readathon, like do what you need to do. And I'm excited for that. I have a whole plan for that. But again, I'm not telling you because I'm gonna try and do my first vlog. It's gonna be interesting, but I'm gonna try and do the thing. Alright. Well, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to subscribe. Until next time, bye.